Good morning. Today's topic is post-colonial studies. In that, we are dealing with a specific topic, the empire writes back. So, this is a form of literary analysis engendered by the turn to theory, brought together some of the insights gained by theories of colonial discourses with readings of the new literatures from countries with a history of colonialism. Using the work of Franz Fanon and Edward Said, and later Baba and Spivak, it became popular to argue that these texts were primarily concerned with writing back to the sender, actively engaged in the process of questioning colonial discourses in their work. The nomenclature of Commonwealth was dropped in preference for post-colonial in describing these writers and their work as if to signal a new generation of critics' rejection of old attitudes in preference of the newer, more interdisciplinary approaches. The imperious overtones of Commonwealth literature made this term fall increasingly out of favor from the 1980s. In stark contrast to liberal humanist readings by critics of Commonwealth literature, post colonial literatures were at a struck regarded as politically radical and locally situated rather than universally relevant. They were deemed to pose direct challenges to the colonial sender from the colonized margins, negotiating new ways of seeing that both contested the dominant mode and gave voice and expression to colonized and once colonized peoples. Post colonial literatures were actively engaged in the act of decolonizing the mind. And this approach was crystallized in an important work that appeared at the end of the decade titled The Empire Writes Back Theory and Practice in Post Colonial Literature, which was co authored by three critics from Australia, Bill Ashcroft, Gareth Griffiths, and Helen Tiffin. Inspired by Rushdie's argument concerning the need to decolonize the English language, The Empire Writes Back brings out the issues we have been exploring into a coherent critical practice. It epitomized the increasingly popular view that literature from the once colonized countries was fundamentally concerned with challenging the languages of colonial power, unlearning its worldview, and producing new modes of representation. Its authors looked at the fortunes of the English language in countries with a history of colonialism, noting how writers were expressing their own sense of identity by refashioning English in order to enable it to accommodate their experiences. So their English was being displaced by different linguistic communities in the post-colonial world who were remaking it as an attempt to challenge the colonial value system it enshrined and bear witness to these communities' sense of cultural difference. In a tone often more prescriptive than descriptive, they expressed the belief that the crucial function of language as a medium of power demands that post colonial writing define itself by seizing the language of the sender and replacing it in a discourse fully adapted to the colonized place. So, I'm stopping my lecture here. Thank you.